You are listening to the Foamy Heads Podcast, where we discuss craft beer and anything else that accompanies a glass.
And go. Foamy Heads are back hanging out today. Mitch and Rich are on the microphones. We're hanging out at Cedar Glade Brews, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. We've got a couple of masterminds with us today. Mitch.
Yes, I'm excited to be here.
Welcome to Murfreesboro.
Always keep returning.
You seem to travel from Chattanooga a lot.
Yeah. I drive more in Nashville and Murfreesboro than I did, when I lived here.
Mm-hmm.
I've butchered this whole thing.
Yeah.
I moved to Chattanooga, and now I'm here more often.
You drink more beer in Middle Tennessee and Murfreesboro and Nashville now that you're living in Chattanooga than when you were actually living in Murfreesboro and Nashville.
Exactly. Thank you, Richard.
I'm just putting it out there. That's all I'm saying. This is a good time today, Mitch. We're going to have a good show. We've got a couple of guys with us today from Cedar Glade Brews. We've got Jonathan and Robert. What's going on, gentlemen?
Not much, man. Excited to be here.
Y'all look good at the end of the table there.
Yeah.
We can see in the camera and everything. We got hooked up with some merch too. Look at this, Mitch. We've got our Cedar Glade Brew hats.
Hell yeah.
And the weather is hot outside. It's nice in here, and we've got cold beer in front of us. And thanks for hosting us today, guys. We appreciate it.
Excited to do it. I've gotten to meet you guys at several different locations, gotten to know you. You've been in here a few times, and just for various reasons, we've not been able to do the podcast with you guys, and man, we're pumped.
And we're here.
Love
now.
your podcast, by the way.
Thank you. We appreciate it. It's fun. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Robert. We'll start with you, and then Jonathan. Then Robert, I want to hear about you too. Jonathan, give us a little bit of background about you.
So I'm an entrepreneur. I taught high school and coached wrestling for several years, and got out of that, got into real estate, and did pretty well with that. Have some rental properties and Airbnbs and all that, and then I finally was like, okay, let's do something that's actually fun. And so I met Jeremy Weaver and Skip Webb. They were home brewers under the name Cedar Glade, and met them at a fundraiser, and basically bought them, if that makes sense. Like they agreed to make as a one of the silent auction items. They agreed to make 2 kegs of whatever kind of beer I wanted, and so I was like, well, there's a good reason to throw a party. And so I asked them for an ESB and a Belgian double. And they said, well, we've never made those. And I said, well, that's what I want. And so
they bought them.
That's right. I got
the rules.
I got the receipt,
you got
baby.
The documentation in hand.
And so they roll up to my house a few months later, and they roll out this cedar bar with 6 taps on it. And they said, here's your ESB, and here's your double, and here's a lager, and here's a this, and here's a that. And the next thing I know, we've got 6 kegs flowing, not 2. So I'm like, these guys are overachievers. And everybody was feeling pretty good by the end of the night.
Hell yeah.
And I said, y'all, your beer is so good, we need to make this legitimate. And they were like, you're drunk. And I'm like, yes, that's a fact, but I'm not wrong.
It's where the best ideas come from.
The research was successful.
That's exactly right. And so fast forward a couple years, and we finally found this building that we're sitting in, and got everything going. Skip has since stepped out of the business, and Jeremy and myself and my wife, Lacey, and another partner, Brian Nail, all of us are the owners. And we hired Robert. Are you 2 years yet?
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm so far behind.
It's June.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Robert came in, and I'll let him tell his story. But he took the recipes that we already had, and just made them better. And so our beer is consistently getting better. Little micro improvements all the time.
And that's what you want, right? I mean, like you stay stagnant and then you get left behind. But if you're constantly improving and trying to make yourself better, then it's upward progression from there. And a lot of that is due to you, right? I mean, like you're head brewer and you brew all the beer here at Cedar Glade, right?
Yes, I do.
So tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah. I mean, I guess how's that? That sound better?
That's better.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess my brewing career started, I don't know, maybe 8-9 years ago now. My wife bought me a little Mr. Beer, Mr. Brew kit, whatever it's called.
I remember those.
It's like every
Is it
home brewer
Mr.
story
Beer, I
right
think,
there.
right?
Mr.
Like
Beer,
the little
yeah.
1-gallon
And-
plastic thing,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
I had one.
So we're living in Houston. I'm from East Texas, and she bought me one of those for birthday or Christmas or something, and just kind of fell in love with it. I was going to school at that point in time for business. Always knew I wanted to go into some sort of business, just didn't know what.
Yeah.
And then the whole home brewing thing kind of kicked off, and so we decided to move out to the West to pursue a career in brewing. So I went to school at Colorado State University, ended up working at Anheuser Busch, and then my wife ended up getting a job out here, and I found these people. Funny story, I emailed them and another brewery almost the exact same time. The one brewery, they reached back out to me 2 weeks later. Jonathan called me like 27 minutes after I sent the email.
Nice.
It hit at exactly the right time. That was when Skip was in the process of stepping out of the business, and he was doing a lot of the brewing. And I was like, man, we're in trouble before we really get started.
Yep.
And we get that, and I look over his resume. He's moving out to the fermentation sciences program to finish up here at Middle, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. Unless this guy's a total tool bag, he's in.
You were able to snatch him right out of college.
Well,
Right out of MTSU.
He was
Still in it.
He was.
Yeah, that's what I'm
he
saying.
just
He was-
graduated like
May.
yeah.
Wow.
So
Okay.
he was in school and brewing for us at the same
Man,
time.
Yeah, so before I moved, I forgot to add
Good
this
on you.
point.
Yeah.
So I was working at Anheuser Busch, and then I interned at a small craft distillery in
Mhm.
Fort Collins, Colorado. So that got me a little more experience in the fermentation realm. And then I was fortunate enough to transfer to Middle Tennessee to finish up fermentation science. So my experience comes from a ton of home brewing, a lot of education side of it, which was unique because Colorado State focused more on the like the health and food sciences, all the nitty gritty science stuff. And then coming to Middle Tennessee here, they focus more on the business and agricultural side. So it was a cool blend of what I was able to learn from education wise, and
Nice.
just
Well, and it was awesome for us too because Robert would go to class and he'd come back and he nerds out over this stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm a natural nerd, but not in this particular realm. Although I've learned a ton from him because he'd come back from class one day, or, on a regular, and he'd be like, "Man, they blah 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 blah," and I'm like, "Slow down, let me make sure I understand." And he's like, "Well, can we do this?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So several times, he's learned about something, and then we've implemented fairly quickly.
Well, and it seems like a good match between the two of you guys because you're kind of more on the entrepreneur business side, and you have that background as well from, when you moved out here to Middle Tennessee State, but you seem to focus more on the brewing side of things. So, it doesn't seem like initially it's like a ask permission. It's like hey, I have a good idea. And then, if this is something that you think is good, you're like, yeah, absolutely, we should go for it. And you trust your brewer to do the process and he trusts you to take care of the business. So it's a good medium between the two of you guys.
He's smart. He understands what we're doing. And he makes, fellas, you're about to try it. He makes some damn fine beer.
Let's get into it then.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Where are we starting? Are we starting on the lighter side, I would assume, right?
Yeah, so you got your first flight here. So all the way to the left.
I don't know how he put it.
Whatever's comfortable for you, man.
This one is Lytle Creek.
Yep.
Okay.
So this is our flagship. It's just a plain old lager. It's just a good beer flavored beer. Lytle Creek lager. Lytle Creek is a very small tributary off the Stones River here in Murfreesboro. So we try to keep it local, even with our names. So we'll start with Lytle Creek.
That works.
All right.
Right on.
Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers.
Here. Boom.
I'll, yeah.
Hey, we're almost at September, so prost.
Oh, that's
This was actually my first beer that I had here.
Oh yeah.
While I was there. Yeah.
Nice.
So I came in and I can't remember who was bartending here at the time. And I sat down. It was after work one day. I'd planned on coming in because you guys had been open for about, I want to say it was about 2 or 3 weeks at that point. Yeah. So
it was like January.
You guys were
cold.
Yeah, it was cold, and I was coming in and I was looking for a I can't remember which one. It might have been Stones River Stout. Stones River Stout.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It might have been Stones River Stout, but for whatever reason, like just what's in my head, I was looking at the board and I was like, well, I'll just take the Lytle Creek Lager up there. Like for whatever reason, that's just what I said. And they pour it down and I go, that's not a stout. And I look up and I go, I think I asked for the wrong beer. And I was like, that's okay, I'll drink it. Like that's fine. And obviously
Freudian slip.
yeah.
Yes.
And it ended up being
It has
a good,
something to do with your mother.
yeah, that's what I keep being told. But regardless, like this was my first beer at this place.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a good beer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, it's special in that it's so simple. You know what I mean? And it's just a beer, but it's a really good beer.
This is one of those this is one of those beers where I think you're easily able to convert somebody who might come in from, what do you have that's close to this, or I only drink this, and that's fair. They you like what you like, but when you come into these type of establishments, Mitch, they typically, like, we're not going to have, no offense, you worked at Anheuser, but you're not going to have Budweiser in a can sitting. Maybe you do over there, I don't know.
We do not. We've actually toyed with that idea a few times, but we'd put our own little twist on it anyway.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that later.
This is one of those good gateway beers into the craft beer industry.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's extremely inviting. It's I'm a first time homeowner this year,
Oh, congrats.
and now I get the pleasantries of managing the yard and the lawn and being outside in the heat. And I'm a behind the desk kind of guy, so I'm getting used to it. The heat is beating me down.
Hey, it's brutal this year, though.
Hot.
It's not always like this, I promise.
Well, these get me through it, these kind of beers.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
this is exactly up my alley for the summer right now. Man.
Lower on the ABV side too, right? Where's it sitting at?
5.1.
5.1. Oh, that's more than I thought it would have been. I would have guessed like mid fours. 5.1. That's actually really decent for a
Yeah,
lager.
that'll
It
make
is.
me enjoy yard work.
Yeah.
Yes. Then you just forget that it's that hot.
That's right.
Yeah.
That happened once already. I was out. I thought I would be out there for maybe an hour and a half, and it turned into almost 5.
Ooh.
And then the kitchen floor felt really good.
Yeah, I bet it did. I bet it did. That's funny.
So Lytle Creek. I keep calling it Little Creek. I think that's what I said when I got here.
It happens all the time.
Yeah, but it's spelled with a Y.
It is.
In the middle. So I mean, that's my fault. I want to jump onto this next one here. So
You are in for a treat.
what am I looking at here? Is this the?
This is the Berliner Off Broad. So we're
I need to know more about this beer because I don't
Yeah.
know anything about this one.
Yeah, we're shifting gears totally on this one. So it's a traditional
Weiss.
German Berliner Weiss. I'm gonna let Robert tell you a little bit more about that process and all of that.
Excellent.
Yeah, sure. So it's traditional Berliner Weiss. We kettle sour it. So probably 36 to 48 hours, depending on what pH level I'm trying to get it at. And we transfer to steel. Well, obviously boil it, kill the lacto, transfer it over, and then ferment it like a regular old ale. And I mean, that's it. It's super light. It's easy. Just enough tartness in there so that way it's a sour. But as the base beer itself has some nice citrus notes to it that finishes off.
4.4 ABV.
4.4.
Yep, 4.4. And one of the things that we do different with this, so a bunch of different breweries will make Berliner Weiss or some version of that, and they call it their sours, and so they'll go ahead and sweeten it or whatever, flavor it with raspberry, or Goat Island does the blood orange. There's several different ones. But what we do is a little bit different. Is we just serve the base, and if you look right over there, we've got a bunch of Tirani syrups, and so you can flavor it at the bar. And so we'll put a couple pumps of syrup in it, and you can have blood orange pineapple huckleberry if you want, or
Nice.
whatever.
Mix them all.
And we're drinking the base just right here, though,
just the
without the
base.
flavoring.
Correct.
So what's the difference between a kettle sour and, say, just any other sour, whether it be a wild ale? Like, is it a process thing? Is it a
And time.
Yep.
time?
Process and time.
Okay.
Yep. So
Yeah, and it has to do with when you introduce the bacteria, right?
Yeah, so kettle sour, after you mash in and you run your wort off, you boil it because you want to sterilize it.
Sure.
And then you add bacteria into that, lactobacillus, or whatever bacteria you want to use. And then you kettle sour it until you get to your target pH point. And then you boil it which kills all your bacteria. Add your hops, and then you transfer it into steel or stainless steel fermenter and pitch your yeast like normal.
Okay.
Is there an advantage to kettle souring something? Is it
Fast?
Okay, I was going to ask if it
quick.
speeds. Okay,
It is very quick.
Nice.
Gotcha.
Versus like slapping it into a barrel
Mhm.
and you let it sour
Waiting
for 2 years.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, man.
This
That's
is
a
a
good
really,
point.
Yeah.
quick way of getting your pH down fast.
And the other big thing is you can, I mean, when you drink them, you can certainly tell the difference in this and like some of the really good barriques and some of those,
Oh, yeah.
the ETFs and all of those guys. It is not nearly as funky of a sour. It's just tart, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and the other thing as well, doing a kettle sour, you're able to sterilize it before you transfer it to your fermenter.
Oh.
So there's no risk of bacterial infection afterwards.
And it's more predictable.
Yeah.
So you can
Oh, yeah,
reproduce
yeah.
this beer over and over and over and over where I mean, that's why ETF, that's why Embrace the Funk, it's a series, and it's like whatever number they're on now, 45 or whatever. I don't
It's
even know.
different every release.
It has to be.
Yeah.
Man.
And depending on
That's
how
fun.
you're going for, I mean, we've seen some breweries, come and go because they can't stay consistent with their beer.
It's
And
hard.
we talked about at the beginning about getting better. It's different from getting better than it is being inconsistent. Like
Yes.
you can be inconsistent as long as it's upward trajectory and getting better.
Yep.
But if you're just putting out something that's supposed to be the same product each time, but like for whatever reason, it's just something's different or something tastes off. And it's like, well, we'll try to do better the next time. Like that doesn't get you, especially in today's beer world, that doesn't get you anywhere.
It gets you
It
sunk.
gets you put out of business.
Very quick.
And there's also a difference in an incremental improvement and just a different beer under the same name, right?
Yeah.
So if we brewed something that was incrementally better for Lytle Creek, that's okay. If we brew a lager that's completely different and we say that it's Lytle Creek, you're going to be like,
It
when you're
introduces
in trouble.
doubt. Right.
yes,
That's true.
Yeah. I'm going to get into this one, Mitch.
I love this beer. It's so light. In Germany, the traditional version of this, it's lunch beer is what it amounts to. So you pair it with food, and the traditional flavorings over there are raspberry or stuff called Woodruff syrup, which we've yet to
Woodruff
We haven't
syrup.
done that one.
introduce. It's earthy and grassy, and it's just not something that we have in
That
in
would
the
go
States.
in the beer.
That's nice. That's really nice.
What's it called again?
Woodruff syrup.
Woodruff syrup.
Mhm.
Never heard of it
But they
before.
use a lot of raspberry, and
Yeah.
so like Trim Tab does. What's the Paradise Now?
Okay.
Trim Tab Paradise Now. That's a raspberry Berliner Weiss.
Gotcha. Okay. I've definitely had one or two of those. I'm trying to think whose they were, but it's been a few years. Man.
This is good hot weather beer, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not big on I haven't tried a lot of Berliner Weisses. I haven't kettle sours aren't necessarily my thing, and Mitch and I will talk about that all day and all night. But I'm starting to kind of move into it a little bit because I do like traditional lagers when it's hot outside and everything, but I kind of want something. I can't do New England IPAs all day when it's 100 degrees outside. I can't do barrel aged stout. I want to, but it's
just not a good
it's
idea.
Just not a good idea. It's not a good idea. So like if you're on the river or you're hanging out floating on the lake or whatever,
Yes.
it's like this is the kind of beer you want to be drinking.
Yes.
It's these and lagers all day for me.
Now, the other thing we have in cans, we don't have it on draft right now. We already ran through all the kegs, but we took a batch of this beer and we put actual fruit in it as well. So fruit puree. So we did a prickly pear, a blueberry, and a mango.
Yep.
And that mango one, y'all, the prickly pear is good too, but that mango one is next level.
I
Hang
love the
on.
mango beers.
Hang on a second, Jonathan. So I was at the brewery one day. I was with I can't remember, Mitch.
Yeah.
It was either with you or it might have been with my buddy Casey. But you walked up to me and you were like, "Hey, do you want something?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" And you went and got me. I guess they would have been rejects because you guys are doing quality control on your beers. And it had an upside down label on
low
it, and it
fills.
was like half.
fills.
Yeah, it was like 3/4 of the way full. And I remember it saying pickle something on it. Was
Prickly
that
pear.
Prickly pear.
Did you was that
Yeah.
this one with the
prickly pear.
So that's what I had that day.
Yeah.
I put it in my fridge, and about a week and a half later, I drank it, and I go, "This is unique. I've never had something like this before." I didn't hate it. Like it was actually a decent beer, but it was like a half full can.
Yeah.
Is that what I was drinking?
Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
So when we can,
I love
we're
that.
our
great.
canner's smaller than this table. It's a very manual process.
Yes, it is.
Oh, man.
And so we do that. We weigh literally every single can and make sure that it falls in our spec.
Nice.
So yeah, and then the ones that don't, we label upside down, and those are tasters.
Yeah.
So talk to us about distribution then from that standpoint, because everything is very manual and very small for you guys right now. Like, are you distributing more kegs than you are can? Because I've seen your cans out. I mean, you sell cans 6-packs here.
Mm-hmm.
What about outside the area?
We got a handful of restaurants that are buying some cans and keeping them in the cooler. There's one or two. Are we at one or two liquor stores?
There's 2 liquor stores.
2 liquor stores that
and
carry.
there's at least 3 restaurants.
They
Nice.
carry our cans.
2 restaurants. There's a theater, Center for the Arts.
Yeah, movie
like,
theater.
there's
Yeah.
different venues.
But
carry them
but
as well.
the majority of our distro at this point is definitely keg. It's definitely draft beer.
Yep.
And we're self distro. We're very small. Almost everything gets delivered in his Jeep or my 4Runner.
Yes.
So I mean, it just
or my little Civic.
or
Heck yes.
sometimes a little Honda Civic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He has discovered that in the unloading lane downtown, they don't necessarily like a Honda Civic parked
They
there.
do not. Oh, they do not.
They haven't said anything about my 4Runner yet.
Well, I parked there one time, and the lady that goes around giving out the tickets, she was giving me this weird look, kept doing double takes. And so I'm like, all right, let me go talk to this lady.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I started.
You're here for a reason.
Yeah, I was
right?
explaining to her. I was like, hey, I'm literally delivering beer right here. And I usually deliver right there.
Yeah, it's either Jack
And she
Brown's
was
or
like,
Burrow
well, do you
Bourbon
have
Brews.
this sort of license or this sort of permit? I'm like, no. She's like, well, this is reserved for the big delivery trucks and all this stuff. I'm like, all right, well, can I do it this one time? She's like, whatever. So I
That's
don't
the
do it
difference between
anymore.
Robert and me.
Dick
I
move.
don't ask.
You don't ask. You don't ask permission.
Yeah, I don't ask. I can argue my way out of it, so it's all good.
Yeah.
I wonder, can you get away with parking with a different car than the large ones? Kind of like if you had a press pass at a place, if you just created your own press pass in a way, or
Honestly, I think we could probably
we should
get away
make
with
one.
it if I made a little Cedar Glade
Yeah.
magnet for the door
Yeah.
and just slapped it on there.
They wouldn't ask questions then
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not at all.
I should do that.
on the side of a Honda Civic.
Yeah.
They might ask questions.
They might
They
ask
will.
questions.
Yeah.
trust me, it's real.
Trust me, this is real. I promise.
Beer. See,
This
there's
is
beer.
good.
Yeah,
I like this beer. This was
this
good.
was
This is. I will say
Yeah.
I'm not big on kettle sours and
Mhm.
sours in general. This
Mhm.
is really tasty.
what I really enjoyed about this kettle sour. This one, you said it was a lunch beer, kind of like the concept of it. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I enjoyed how it made my gums sweat just a little bit, and then it went away, and it was kind of not dry, but it's welcoming me back for another sip.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It-
very bright, but it doesn't punish you at all.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, like I said, it's just enough tartness
Mm.
so that way you know it's a sour,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but it doesn't linger, and there's a nice like lemon citrusy
Oh yes.
aftertone.
You don't feel like you're drinking vinegar.
Yeah.
It doesn't,
See-
doesn't give you heartburn, no
Yeah.
acid, indigestion. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's my
Awesome.
I think that's my gripe about sours for the most part is,
Yeah.
and I've been surprised many times
Yeah.
on the show here when talking with people, and they're like, yeah, we get it, sours are this, they're supposed to be this, ours is a little bit different take. I understand it, but man, sometimes when you just drink a sour and it just knocks you in the
Oh.
teeth,
Yeah.
and it's like the sweet tarts, right, where it like hurts the back
Oh,
of
yeah.
your
Yeah,
your
and
jaw
you can
right
feel
there.
the enamel eroding
Yeah.
on
It's like
your
you
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
you just
My
popped
thing.
a warhead.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Yes, they're warheads. That's exactly what it's like.
Yeah.
That's the connection
Yeah.
right there. I've never been able to put it into words before.
Man,
Yeah.
I do not remember the thing I had, but I went to the old Yazoo location when they did embrace the funk, and everybody would show up for the release, and
Yeah.
there was some shares. There was something I had there that looked super black metal on the label, and man, I felt like my jaw was going to fall off. It was insane, and I did not like it. That was the
Funky?
only one. It was extremely funky and
Yeah.
sour. It was something kicked me in the mouth on that.
But you know,
that day.
props to Yazoo
Yeah.
with that series and all the stuff that they've done. I mean, they're truly some of the OGs,
Yeah.
in our area. And that Embrace the Funk series, when it started,
Mm.
that was what got, a whole lot of people in this
Yeah.
area to try their first funky beer.
True.
Yep.
And so kudos to them. And it's opened the door. Barrique could not really do what they do without them opening the door for that to happen.
Yeah.
And Barrique is obviously
Barrique makes some killer sours.
oh my
Yeah,
God,
they
they're
do.
killing it.
Yeah.
I love everything they're doing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and that allows us to have a little bit of levity as well, and, and do some of the things that we're doing. So,
Man, great beer.
And I
Great beer.
appreciate. To me, this is something that somebody that doesn't drink sours all the time constantly
Yes.
would drink something like this, because to me this paves the path into some of the more heavier sour stuff. But I don't know if I want to go that direction. I kind of want to stay right here.
well, we're going to do another flight, and I'm going to do it again, and I'm going to put a syrup in it for you guys.
Okay.
Ooh,
Because when you introduce that syrup into it, it is a completely different beer.
Oh yeah.
And
Ooh.
so a whole lot of people, you talk about gateway beers.
Yeah.
We have had a lot of people that have said, we don't really drink beer, but we drink sweet wine. And I'm like, I got you.
Nice.
And-
Kettle sour, Berliner Weiss with some.
It's like 99% success rate.
Yeah,
Whoa.
it's
I'm looking
crazy.
forward to that. Then
It's
I
crazy.
want to try it.
Dude. Yeah, we're gonna have to.
And it cuts that tartness down
Mhm.
and gives it that sweetness.
Mm.
So it's kind of almost doesn't taste like wine.
Yeah.
But it's like wines where you have that bitterness and that sweetness together.
Yeah.
And it just
Takes off.
Yeah, and we like to lovingly call it Sonic beer here, since we have so many different flavors. that you can pick from.
Sonic beer.
I need to get me some little boxes of Nerds and start dumping,
Yeah.
That'd be
that
fun.
in there.
Don't put it in a Route 44. You wouldn't be able to drive that.
Even
dude,
maybe you should put it-
4.4.
Yeah,
Route
there you go.
4.4.
I think that's the name of
My
your
man.
next beer. Right there.
Route 4.
Route 4.4. You could even get the little sign on the side of it. Oh, that's great.
That's good stuff.
What do we got next, gentlemen? What is this one right here?
Long Hunter IPA.
Ooh, now we're
Oh,
speaking
yeah.
my language.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorites that you guys
Little Westy
make.
here.
Yeah.
for you.
Mm.
I drink this one every time I come in. I'll try whatever you guys have new on tap whenever I come in, but I always end up getting one of these after I'm done, because I prefer to have my hops, my especially West Coast, after the fact.
Mm.
Good.
But yeah, this one's my favorite that you guys make. This
Heck
one
yeah.
in the New England IPA.
Oh yeah, that nose, man.
I love this beer.
Straight up West Coast.
Yeah.
West Coast IPA.
Mm,
Yeah,
I love this beer.
that's hoppy. It's super clean though. Like it's always it finishes off nicely. It leaves that real that bitterness stays with you even after the sip. Like it's still it's still hanging around in my tongue right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then it slowly dissipates, but I always end up going back for another sip before that's actually gone. This right here, I've said it already, this is probably one of my favorites that you guys make.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Long Hunter is great.
So this is
Mine as well.
yeah,
Mm,
yeah, for
mm.
sure.
Yeah.
And
From
this,
the brewer himself.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
this recipe was one that and I don't know which one it was, Skip or Jeremy, one of them. This was one that they made as homebrewers for several years prior to us opening.
This is one of the
think
originals.
This was Jeremy's, wasn't it? I don't know. I don't remember.
I know it's better now.
What's the IBU?
He's so
on
modest.
Yeah, I was going to say. It's almost like he knows what he's doing a little bit, right?
It's I think it's around 76, 77.
I was going to say
somewhere
75.
around there.
It's
yeah.
It could
hoppy.
be 75.
It's right.
It's
It's right in
hoppy.
that area.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
7.1
ABV.
ABV. Mhm.
That's why I end up feeling really good when I leave
But
this
the-
place.
There you go.
So the body on this one is obviously the hop characters there,
Mhm.
the aroma, the flavor, but the body or your malt characteristic, because there's a ton of Munich malt in here.
Munich
So
malt.
it gives it a little bit of, I like to say, grittiness or dirtiness to it, which is what a lot of West Coast IPAs taste
Yeah, it's not
like.
super thin. Like
No.
No.
there's nothing more of a letdown than a really hoppy beer that just kind of like
Dissipates into nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the golden color associated with it too.
Yeah.
That's that true West Coast like look.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little darker when they were previous to making it before I was
Mhm.
here, and we just lightened it up just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Was it due to the malts? Did you guys change the malt profile on it?
Yeah, it was really just a crystal caramel malt. We
Yeah.
just changed it
Mhm.
because it was a little higher.
Gotcha. That one went down too fast.
Man, yeah, it did. That's nice, man. That is.
I said before and I'll say it again. This is the winner. These have all been great. I love me some hops. Hops are like the hoppier the better.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I mean, everybody goes that route.
Yeah.
Like they start out with the basics and then they go up. And I did the same thing with cigars. I got into the triple Maduros, the bigger ring gauges, bigger, darker, like melt your face and, difficult to smoke. But then eventually, just like with beer, you hit the top and then you go, well, they're not going to make a 300 IBU IPA, so like there's no point. So then you kind of start finding your way back down to like what your preference is. That's where I land.
Yeah.
Like if it's not New England IPA and more hazy and lower on the IBU scale, I prefer go to the West Coast in like the mid 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, generally, once you get 75 to 100 range, like your palate can't
Tell the
differentiate anything higher than that.
That's a good fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why do it?
Exactly.
Why not?
Just marketing. You put it on the can. Yeah, why not?
That's true.
That's my attitude. Why not?
Why not?
The consumer's like, oh my God, 120 IBUs?
Yeah.
I got to try that.
Yeah.
But it could
They
taste the
can't
exact same, or the bitterness factor would be the exact same. It's like a 75 IBUs.
The palate wrecker.
Yeah.
There I go, making up words again.
Can't wait for your 125 IBU beer coming out next week.
Yeah.
I'm down.
I'll fall for it. I'll buy it. Why not?
Well,
Of course.
That's why you do
It's
it.
marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
We did a terrible decision when we were early in our podcasting years and did a Dogfish Head 120-minute IPA.
Did you chew it?
Man.
Yeah.
And-
I love that.
Well, just wait. Hold on, though.
Well,
it's
What'd
It's
we cut
different.
it with? What'd we cut it with?
I think it was we mixed 120 and Worldwide Stout
Yes.
together.
Yes.
It was the black and tan Dogfish Head version of a black and tan.
It's called Heaven and Hell.
Heaven and Hell,
Oh.
and you felt like you were in probably the other one more than the first that most of the time.
And that was after an Avery triple vanilla.
we had already been
stout.
drinking, so like, why not? Right? Let's just do it.
Yeah. It was
Oh, God.
it was a cluster. We did 3 recordings, and by the third one, it was a slurred mess.
Yeah.
I bet it was.
It was good though. It was fun, but
Well, Dogfish Head is also who pioneered the Randall and through wet hops. So they would pour beer through wet hops.
Oh yeah.
And there have been a couple of occasions where they've run 120 through wet hops. So I can't even
Because why not?
Because why not?
Because why not?
Because they could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
gosh,
I do like we've been to the tap room in Milton, and it might have been when Raison d'Etre was there at the time, but being able to take a heavy beer that was brewed with raisins and very similar to the hops, it's just it runs through the lines and it comes down through a bunch of raisins before it hits your glass.
Wow.
And it was an experience for sure. And Dogfish Head is, I mean, I think now they're owned by Sam Ad or Boston Beer Company, but
They were crazy
yeah.
for a while. I had an opportunity to go to there for my cousin
To
of
the
mine.
tap room
Yeah,
in Delaware?
because a cousin of mine was graduating high school up there.
Yeah.
And that I can't say the word that I'm really thinking. He dropped out of school like 2 weeks before and went and got his GED, so I didn't get to go.
oh man,
I know.
What?
I know. I was like, and my now ex-wife, I was like, can we go anyway? She's like, well, he's not graduating. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go to the graduation anyway. I
You
just
weren't
wanted to go to Dogfish Head.
Yep.
So,
Yes.
anyway.
So you didn't go?
I didn't go.
You didn't get to go?
I didn't go.
You have not
Man,
been
I
to
have not
the
been.
tap room.
And so a couple of my favorite beers ever, Theobroma.
Oh, yeah.
Have you had Theobroma?
Yep.
So one of my best beer memories of my entire life went to the Brick Store Pub in Atlanta, and they have an extensive cellar collection.
Wow.
If you've never seen it, it's like a Bible. And I mean, like literal thousands of bottles in their cellar, right? And so it was my birthday, and I acted like a big shot. I had 3 friends with me, and so they had at that time it was a 4 or 5 year old Theobroma that they'd been cellaring.
Nice.
And it was already one of my favorite beers. And so I'm like, I want that. It was like $62 for the bomber or something like that.
Man.
And the server was like, "Oh, you're getting that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, buddy." And
You're
he
big
goes,
baller.
"That's right."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh man." I was like, "Hey, bring a 5th glass." And the server sat down.
Oh,
I know, I was
look at
such a
that. That's
pimp,
a good
right?
man, right?
Nice.
The server
Nice.
sat down and drank that bottle with us.
Nice.
awesome.
Yeah, it was.
I love
it was
that.
magical.
How big was it? Was it a bomber?
Mhm.
Yeah. 22 ounce.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. It was a 750.
Oh,
It
750.
was-
750. Okay.
Yeah,
I
it was a
got
big,
you. Yeah,
big
yeah.
bottle.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was delicious.
Good on you.
It was.
Good on you.
It was
You would have
incredible.
drank the whole thing yourself, though, probably.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
For the people.
Dude.
Yeah.
Last one on the flight.
Let's get it.
What are we rolling with here?
All right, so this is another one of those that's been around for a very, very, very long time. This is called Nuttin' But Fun, which is not my most favorite name for a beer, but that's okay. And it is
It's a hit.
The spelling definitely raises some questions.
I said that, and everybody ignored me. And anyway, it's been a running joke.
It ain't nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Seems like it is, Mitch.
Yeah, well, I'm glad we have this table here. Toasted pecan porter.
Yeah,
so year-round porter. We keep it all the time. And it's a big seller. It's sweet. It's nutty.
It's got a great nose to it too.
Mm-hmm.
It smells great. It really does. I'm gonna spill it all over me.
Oh,
why
yeah.
not?
So I always tell the story. First time somebody drinks this, I'm like, the first time that we brewed it, it's 25 pounds of pecans in a 3.5 barrel batch. So it's a lot.
That's a lot of pecans.
And actual crushed pecans, not just extract. There's a little extract, but it's mostly the crushed pecan.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time we brewed it, we've got a glass door over here in the brew space, and they were dumping the nuts into the brew, and they glanced over, and there was a squirrel.
He was just
with his face plastered up against the
No.
glass. Yeah.
True story or not true story?
What do you think? I'm gonna
It's
let
a true story.
I'm gonna let the listener decide. on that one.
It's a true story. Nothing but fun. Nothing but fun.
Nothing
What's
but fun.
ABV on this one?
5%. No, it's like
5.6.
5.6.
I think it's 5.6.
That's easy.
Yeah.
That's
So,
easy.
so it's a very light alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
very light body for a porter,
Yeah.
which honestly is one of our entry level beers to get people into dark beers.
Yeah.
Because we say porter, and like
You think
we
heavy.
take this to almost every event that we go to.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I don't want anything heavy. It's like, well, it's not. It's like less alcohol than this beer. It's lighter than that beer. And they're like, all right, let me try it. And then they're converted.
And they end up
Super
loving
quick.
it.
Man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's how I got into craft beer. I was through the dark side. I was Guinness and those kinds of things. That's what got me going into craft beer.
Man.
You were more on, Mitch, as soon as
Yeah.
we got you into craft beer, you were more on the Belgian side of things, weren't you?
I was.
St. Bernardus and
I-
that kind of Abbott 12.
I was slow to get into craft beer in general. Like in my teen years, I snuck my drinks, what I
Sure.
could. But Tennessee's laws at the time was very
They're
limited
fucked,
with
man.
craft
Yeah.
beer in general.
Yep.
And,
6% is
yeah.
what it was.
Yeah.
Anything above 6, you were getting at a liquor store.
Yep.
And it had dust on it because nobody
Nobody
did
goes
that.
to the liquor
Yeah.
store to get beer, right?
So
Yeah.
my first experience with a good beer, air quote, you'd like what you like, but it was St. Bernardus Abbott 12 in a coffee shop in Atlanta.
Mm.
They had a tap as well as coffees, and they stayed open late. Octane was the name of it. I think that one location's closed that I went to, and I always went there from
That's
that.
a good beer, though.
Yeah,
We actually have that in the cooler, don't we?
We do.
Yeah.
it is so solid. I used to trade beers for St. Bernardus,
wow.
because Tennessee being difficult with their laws and everything.
Yeah.
I'm still surprised to this day. It's almost been 8 years since they changed distribution laws a little bit,
Mhm.
maybe.
It's been a while.
Yeah, but it still feels like yesterday in a way where I'm like, I probably can't get that. Then I'm surprised with
Yes.
distro. It's incredible now compared to what it used to be.
No
But
doubt.
I think it used to be 6% or 6.1, one of the two, something
6.0.
like that.
Five,
like-
5.9 Natty Ice was the strongest beer you could get when I was in college.
Well, I remember Bud Light. I remember Bud Light Platinum being in the grocery stores at
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
point. And I was like, you can't get higher alcohol now. And I think it was like 6 or 6.1 or something.
Yeah.
But as soon as they changed the laws, what is it now in grocery stores?
10.1.
10.1? Yeah.
10.1.
So I mean, once that opened up, then you started seeing like Dogfish Head came in with like 60-minute IPA, and then
Yeah.
you started seeing some of the higher, and then
Three
New England
Floyds
Three
and-
Floyds
Yes.
started
Oh, yeah.
coming in.
Mhm.
And they were here for a while, and then they pulled out, and I think they're kind of starting to come back in now. Like now,
They-
you start to see Gumball Head and
Yeah,
Zombie Dust,
Zombie Dust and Gumball Head
Yeah.
you can find
Yeah,
most of the time.
pretty much anywhere. I remember when those
We
were
have
rare
Zombie
commodities.
Ice actually in
Oh,
the,
yum.
do.
the big, tall 19-ounce
That's
cans.
yummy.
Are those
Nice.
IPAs? Because Zombie Dust. Sorry, I thought it was an IPA, but Zombie Dust is considered a pale ale. But Zombie Ice, I think, is an IPA. Is that correct? Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is a pale.
It's
the
always
zombie
been
dust.
super hoppy to me.
Yeah,
Zombie
it's
dust was
very
always
hoppy.
really
Yeah.
on the hoppy side.
It
But
fools me every time.
I think you're a lot of breweries are starting to blur those lines a little bit between what's considered a style beer versus another.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And really, it's just kind of almost what you call it, as long as you're within very wide parameters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can really call your beer whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But if you're entering a competition, then
Yes.
then
Yeah.
you have
You
to
have
call
rules
it within
to
those
follow.
parameters.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know,
That's right.
Man. Well, if I ever don't know the ABV, I'm always like, it's the Tennessee 10.1.
Well,
10.1.
little fact there: if you see 10.1 on a bottle, there's
It may or may not be
there's
10.1.
a pretty decent chance.
That it's not 10.1.
But it is.
Yeah,
But
because
it
it's what
totally
it
is
says on the
10.1.
label.
Yeah.
Duh.
That's right.
That's awesome. That was a good flight, Mitch.
That was delicious. Yeah, the porters are. I was never a big fan of porters for some reason until I got a little older, a little age on me, and then they've really just come back to life in the past 3 years. I've really enjoyed every porter I've had the chance to try. So
Good.
it's a weird shift for me,
Yeah.
dynamic wise.
Well, to me, there's a fine line between a stout and a porter, and very often, like on a menu or whatever, they're lumped together. I have found the ones that I've tried, porters I typically don't like as much as I like the stouts.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's the smokiness or I'm not sure what it is. But
Yeah.
This one, to me, it drinks very much like a sweet stout.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit lighter body and that kind of thing.
I love that lighter body, but still full of flavor.
Mhm.
This is good next to a campfire or in the kitchen.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
well,
I think-
it drinks almost like a dark lager.
Yeah.
That's what I was
But
going
it's
to
not.
say.
Right.
My beef with porters for the most part has always been the fact that they're always a lot thinner than what I was expecting. Like if you're looking at a dark beer, and traditionally dark beers are not supposed to be very thick and heavy, but like they are nowadays. But like when I look at a dark beer, I think bigger beer, thicker, heavier, whatever. And so that's what's in my mind. And then I drink something like a porter and it's really thin. And I go, okay, well, it doesn't stay with you long. It kind of dissipates real quickly. And you don't get that with this one because it's a little bit sweeter. It's a little bit heavier,
Mhm.
but it's not quite that stout range.
Right.
And it's got lots of flavor. You're right. This is straight up campfire beer. Like 60 degrees outside. I'm drinking this while I'm hanging out.
It's great.
Well, and I'll tell you, what's really interesting, we see this, a whole lot of people think that a darker beer equals a higher alcohol content.
Ah.
So I don't really,
It's very
I really don't like those really strong dark beers. And I'm like, well, that's not exactly accurate.
Right.
I mean, our highest alcohol content beer we just had in the Long Hunter,
Yeah.
and it was way
By
lighter,
far.
True.
way lighter in color than the others. And then
Yeah.
you get in like some Belgian Strongs, some
Yes.
Belgian Goldens and stuff.
Man.
Holy crap, they'll knock you down at 14% or whatever. You
Yeah. 10.1.
know? If they're in this tap room, yeah.
And any other tap room in Middle
That's
Tennessee.
right.
There
That's
was there was an incredible Belgian strong from it. They've closed now. Marrowbone.
Yeah,
Marrowbone
Marrowbone
Creek.
Creek,
Oh, yeah.
Ashland
Yeah.
City.
They did a great 10.1.
Yeah, 10.1.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't remember. There's been a few people have come out with those, and they've all been stellar. But it's weird. Like I haven't seen a whole bunch of those until the past like 4 years recently in Tennessee.
Beer styles change.
Yeah,
Preferences change.
but right now the scene's just amazing. Everyone's being able to craft so much. I'm loving the options here.
Yeah.
And you guys have a great range.
there's a lot. There's a lot of craft breweries. There's a lot opening and there's a lot closing
I know.
too. I mean, like this is a very weird time in craft beer because when money was cheap and you could borrow it, almost nothing on the dollar. You could go to a bank and have something. There are microbreweries opening up everywhere. And then all of a sudden, when the lockdowns hit and the COVID crisis, it forced everybody indoors. Everybody had to get unique with what they were doing.
Yeah.
And then once they finally started opening up, things started looking up. And then all of a sudden, like those PPP loans came to fruition, or supply chains have
Right.
a life cycle where it's like you're doing good, and then eventually the past catches up with you. And now what you've been seeing over the last, I don't know, probably year or so is like you've got a lot of companies out there, breweries included, that are like looking at it going, Me personally, I don't think Murfreesboro's tapped out by any means.
Not even close.
When it comes to craft breweries, and we have 4.
If you count Hop Springs, which sometimes they brew, sometimes they don't.
I don't know if I do.
There's 4.
You guys, Mayday, Panther Creek,
Middle Ground, Mayday.
Yeah, so 4 of them.
Yep. Yeah.
And I think Murfreesboro's got a lot more.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the national average is 10 to 15,000 people per brewery, and Rutherford County has over 400,000 people.
So we're nowhere. Okay, so even according to the average, we're nowhere near tapped out yet.
Not even close.
Okay. Nashville's got a lot of breweries, a ton of breweries. I mean, even just in the last couple of years, Marble Fox just celebrated their 1-year anniversary.
Nice. I didn't realize they were that new.
Yeah.
Robert and I just went to Fate La Force.
Love what Fate La Force is doing, man.
They are killing it, y'all.
Those guys are doing good work out there.
They really are, and what a cool building and a great location. And man, we had a great time there.
It was awesome.
They're very good. Fate La Force is very good. I mean, they make all their beers are really good, but they seem to focus more on like the Belgian style beers.
Like only 3 beers were not Belgian inspired.
True.
They would do different styles,
which I'm okay with that.
Using Belgian yeast.
And they have NBA Jam inside the.
That's awesome.
They've got the arcade console.
We drank and ate pimento cheese, so we were happy.
Happy Kings.
Yeah.
We got a new. So you call this connecting flights? That was a good one. You brought that up at the beginning before you even hit record. Flight number 2.
Yeah. All right. So
this is color. This is more colorful.
It is a little more
one.
colorful.
Yeah.
So what we did here. So I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead. What flavor did he end up doing?
Was this the Berliner Weiss? Was
cherry lime?
Cherry lime. Yep. Okay, so this is a cherry lime Berliner Weiss.
Oh,
so the guy that invented it, Jeremy, that invented this for us, this is his favorite flavor. So in honor of Jeremy was injured about 3 weeks ago.
About a month ago.
In an explosion at his house, and he looks like he might actually end up having to have some skin grafts on his legs.
Whoa!
But he was in the hospital for 2.5 weeks. So. Anyway, Jeremy, if you watch this, we love you, buddy, and we're ready for you to get better. So, in honor of Jeremy, we're going to do the cherry lime Berliner Weiss. So let's go ahead and do that one first.
Awesome.
Cheers to Jeremy.
Cheers, Jeremy.
Yes.
Jeremy.
Cheers, Jeremy.
Feel better, get better.
Yes.
Alcohol would help you too, just for the record.
Helps everything.
Mm-hmm.
So same Berliner Weiss.
That's the same
thing
with a pump of syrup in it.
Man.
No,
it's friggin' delicious.
No,
that's incredible.
It's a whole different beast.
Wow.
Just like I said, it cuts that tartness down and then just brings a sweetness level.
I don't know what I was expecting, but like when I hear like a pump of syrup, like I'd almost expect the viscosity to like not mix or not mash very well. It tastes. Wow.
No wonder it's a 99%. I mean, a conversion rate.
Hey, my mom even likes the pineapple one.
Whoa.
And my mom does not drink beer at all.
Nice.
Not even a little.
And I only say 99% because there was only one person that didn't like it.
Yeah.
Out of the 2 years that I've been here.
Man.
One person.
And he punched her in the face. And
she's no longer here.
She's no longer with
us. And now she likes it. She was wrong, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, this is good. This is the same Berliner Weiss that we had a few minutes ago.
It is.
With that pump of syrup, I get a little less of the gum kind of hit.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it's delicious.
I'm saying for some reason it just cuts that tartness down.
This doesn't. It still tastes like a beer, but it doesn't have like it doesn't taste like a beer.
Right.
It adds that kind of like refreshing daytime kind of touch to it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And some of the syrups are sweeter than others. Like the strawberry syrup is very sweet. Yeah. It's very, very sweet. So, if you're if you want no beer flavor whatsoever, the strawberry is a good choice. The watermelon one is a little bit more tart, and it tastes like a watermelon Jolly Rancher.
Very nice.
You mentioned mango as well.
Not in this. The mango was the fruited with the purees in it.
Right.
But what else do we have over there? We got huckleberry,
blue raspberry.
The blue raspberry
could be interesting.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
The blood orange is my favorite, and it's more tart for sure.
I love blood orange. I might try a little sample before I leave today.
Yeah. So and we have folks that do come in and mix and match. We've got one lady that her jam is 2 pumps of blood in a pint. You get 3 pumps, so 2 pumps of blood orange and 1 pump of pineapple. That's her thing.
And you guys do crowlers, right?
Mm-hmm.
You do crowlers to go. You could get that in a crowler if you wanted to.
For sure.
See, that might actually be something. Rachel, not beer. If it's, my wife's big stout fan, so she loves coffee stouts. But other than that, she goes straight to ciders.
Mm-hmm.
But we talked about this a little bit at the beginning, Jonathan, but she's very just crossing over from the sweeter wines into more of the dry wines.
Yeah.
This one might be good for her.
Yeah.
She would love something like this when we're hanging at the pool.
Well, and fun
poolside.
Yeah, for sure. And the fun thing with the syrups, having those available. So we're very kid friendly here at Cedar Glade, and so we even do a Sprite flight for the kiddos.
Ooh,
so
different flavors of the Sprite.
Yeah, so they can
that's a good
pour
idea.
the Sprite in there and get different.
That's
awesome.
That's a good idea.
I
haven't heard that happen before.
Yeah.
I love that. And you guys' space, by the way, I don't want to discount. I don't want to bring this up. You guys just recently opened up back there.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have your patio about a year ago. Okay. And I was out there probably about 2 months ago. DJ and Serge were out here with me. And so we were just enjoying beers out there, but really like that space out there. But just inside here in general, very open, big open concept. And you guys have a lot of events going on throughout the week also.
All the freaking time.
From bingo to or board game night and things like that.
Yeah,
so.
we do trivia on Sunday nights, live music on the weekends. We actually have two shows today, a 3:30 and a 8 o'clock. Friday nights we have a little bit bigger shows, full bands, that kind of thing. So we don't do that every single Friday. We're fixing to do a couple of video game tournaments.
Nice.
We've got some of that stuff going on. We've got a cruise in once a month, so we've got classic car cruise in. We had 40 cars here last month.
Wow. We host a kickball league Thursday nights, which they bring 100 people at least every single Thursday.
We're fixing to be the new official beer sponsors for Murfreesboro rugby team, the adult rugby team, and they like to drink. So when they show up, y'all will want to be here. That's going to be a party.
I bet. Yeah. That's going to be awesome.
So good stuff.
I like the events that you guys do in the area too, because it's important to reach out to your community, not necessarily just being a watering hole is great.
Yeah.
Being a brewery that offers something unique all the time is always good. But you need it's almost like in today's world, you need another reason. Because anybody can just go get something, go home and drink, but you almost need something to get out. And everybody's got either kids or animals, and you guys are very dog friendly and stuff like that too, because you've got an outdoor porch even out.
We allow dogs inside.
Inside also? Yeah. So it's almost important to get family out as well. Sprite flights, like you said, is a good idea. I had no idea. My son would kill for something like that.
It's so fun. Yeah, it's so fun.
Yeah.
So, all right. So the next 3 beers, guys. So we hosted. You're talking about events. We hosted the International Folk Fest, and so it was pretty cool. It's something it was the 41st. Is that right?
Yeah, there was
40,
a lot of
41 or no years in a row. 41 or 42 years that they've been doing that. And so they bring in dance troupes from different countries. And like folk dance and folk music. And they always have a capstone event on a Friday night. And we hosted it for the first time in May, I guess it was. Yeah. And so one of the things that we did is when we do an event, we do it right and we fully embrace that event. And so with this one, we had a group come in. There was a Czech Republic group, a Mexican group, and an English group.
Oh.
And so what we decided to do is let's brew a beer from each of those, like a traditional beer from each of those locations.
That's what we have here.
Nice. And so we did that, and we served it that night. It was an awesome night. We made labels for each of them that included their flags. I'll give you guys a sampler pack of that, and that was their party favorite, right? Because they got to take a 4-pack.
That's awesome.
They actually did the 3 beers from their country, one from each of the countries, and then our prickly pear.
Nice.
And the reason that we did the prickly pear is the Berliner Weiss is one of our signature beers, but also prickly pears grow in cedar glades, and cedar glades are a land form or whatever that's unique to this area. Yeah, so it's exposed limestone rock, and most of it is you have prickly pears growing up.
Yeah.
And so it was like, that's unique to us. So that was us, and then each of the 3 countries.
That's awesome.
Gotcha.
Man.
So in your flight, you've got this is called Furient Fuel. We named it all after their dances. So the Furient was a Czech dance. So this is a Czech Pilsner.
Czech Pilsner.
Yep.
Nice.
And then this one is this is the ESB, isn't it?
ESB, yeah.
Yeah. So English Cotswold Morris was one of their dances. So this is called Cotswold Morris, and it's an ESB, which, if you'll remember my previous story,
Yep. That was one of the beers you
ESB,
requested that they brewed, right?
That's my jam.
All right.
And then this last one is a dark Mexican lager, Harabeing in the dark.
I like this.
Harabe.
Yeah.
Harabe in the dark.
Harabe is the hat dance.
Yeah.
So Harabeing in the dark.
Nice.
Yeah. So
That's
you
a
guys,
cool concept.
we're going to do it again next year. It's going to be awesome.
are.
Totally
Oh,
different
yeah.
countries. So
I
all
feel
right,
like
where
I'm
we-
starting here.
we're going to start with the pills.
Yep.
Let's do it.
Oh yeah. It definitely had that nose, and man,
Semi-sweet,
yeah.
crispy.
So on these,
Yeah.
I said, here's the countries we're doing. Robert, you pick what kind of beer, and you come up with a recipe. So
Nice.
this is all
job.
him. This is all him.
And I will tell you, I do like this beer.
Mhm.
This is my very first time brewing a Czech Pilsner. And I'll say it again. I like this beer.
Yeah.
But next time, I'm going to make it just that much better. We talk about the
Oh, yeah.
incremental
Yeah.
Always getting better.
bettering of
Yeah.
it, right? I'll let y'all talk about it.
Mm.
And then,
What's the-
and then
no,
I'll tell you what I would,
no,
what I would
so-
do different.
Okay.
And then
What-
when y'all finish talking about it, I sorry to interrupt. Y'all gotta have him tell the story of how I got him with this beer.
Man,
How about I go to the restroom and you tell that story?
man, this thing, it's interesting. Pilsners, 2 years, I guess now. Time keeps going, but I keep finding new things I like about Pilsners. It almost feels like you're able to. It's been a while since I've had a bad Pilsner, and this is another one of the good ones. So it's like, it's hard to hide faults behind Pilsners.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's a good statement.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
yeah, and
Because you're never gonna fruit one to mask something.
No,
I
no.
hope you're not anyway.
You're not going
Yeah.
to throw hops to mask something.
right.
Nope.
And the dumb thing about me getting back into Pilsners is that it took dry hopping.
Smith and Lentz.
Yeah, they do a dry hopped Italian Pilsner or something like
Yeah.
that at one point in time, or that might be one of their mainstays. I'm trying to remember, but that just drove me back because I remember texting Richard. I'm just like, I'm diving into Pilsners now, and it's all because of dry hops. But now I find any Pilsners I can and try them, especially from Europe and whatnot. And it's a whole new kind of world to me as I learn different ingredients that they use, and then the more traditional side as well.
Yep.
So I'm still learning as a consumer what I'm looking for between Pilsners. So this one's a little lighter from what I can tell, from what I've been just kind of trying around the world, basically, with distribution. So it's lighter. It's got that nice crispness to it, and I don't know. It's right up my alley. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm trying to think of any other descriptors. If I do, I'll bring them up. But ingredients escape me.
Yeah. I think that I'm more as much as Mitch says he's kind of still kind of getting back into Pilsners. I'm even less experienced on these than he is. And it could be just my experience with like getting into hoppy Pilsners and dry hop stuff and stuff like that. But I've tried a lot of Pilsners, and this one, I love this Pilsner. I feel like this one's a little bit sweeter than
That's good.
a lot of the other Pilsners I've
For
had.
sure.
I don't know if Pilsners are, if there's like a range of what it's supposed to be.
There's
I don't
different
know.
styles. So this
Yeah.
is
There's
we're
Czech,
call-
there's Italian.
and this is really more of even a bohemian.
Oh.
So it's a like,
And I've just
specific
never had
within a
that style
Czech.
before. Yeah. So,
Gypsy beer is what it amounts to.
Nice.
Yeah.
but my gripe has always with Pilsners have always been like, even though they're crispy, they're good and all that. They've always been. We talked a little bit about dryness, before we turned the mics on, but I prefer to something to be a little bit sweeter than dry. So this being a little bit sweeter actually works in the advantage of me because I prefer something a little bit sweeter.
Yeah.
But I don't know if, because I haven't had that style before, to me, I don't know if I would have thought Pilsner just because of a little bit sweetness on my end, but that's my ignorance speaking.
Sure. What would you change on?
I
know what
asked,
I would change.
So I told you.
I don't know if I've told you yet.
Now I'm curious.
So again, like I said, it was my first time doing this.
Great first time, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good.
It was a hit, and I do like the beer.
It's super tasty.
But I try to be a perfectionist
when
I'm making beer, and I want to do the best I can and improve every time. So the body is a little too thick.
Too thick?
Well, first I'll start by the majority of this beer is floor malted Bohemian Pilsner malt. Like 90+% of it, that's what it is.
Bohemian, that you just mentioned that. Yeah.
And Saaz hops all the way throughout. So what I would do differently is cut the amount of, I put a little bit of dextrin malt in there. So it gives you a little bit of unfermentable sugars, which leads to a little bit more sweetness, a little more body. So I'd probably cut that in half. And then add more bittering hops.
Interesting.
Because it needs to be a little drier, not as sweet, more bitter.
But I would say
for that style,
just a tiny little bit, not much.
Not a lot. It's very small changes that I would do next time.
My biggest thing on this, there's only one thing I would change about it. It would be significantly more carbonated.
Okay.
I would want it. I would want a head on that thing like this tall.
Yeah.
Well, it was also sitting up there for.
It was. But even when we poured it, it's not that it doesn't have a head, but I want it like almost overly carbonated.
He wants a foamy head.
Yes,
there we go.
He wants
on that
foamy head on that beer.
My God, I want it to take him 10 minutes to pour that damn beer. So,
all right,
do like a slow pour, so to speak.
You start with the story, and then I'll tell my side of it when I get back.
So
that works.
So we have all this all these people here. There was probably 300 plus people here for this event. And we shut down both parking lots. We had a separate bar out here. Robert was working that bar.
Wow!
And all the dancers were in this parking lot on this end. And so before it all got started, all of the dancers got a free pint. Like they just go get a beer or whatever, you know. And this one Czech guy, there was one guy that spoke decent English, right? And so I asked him, and he was Czech. He was drinking the Czech beer. I said, "So what do you think? I mean, you know, this is from your country, you know." He's like, "Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good." And then his buddy, like, he tells his buddy about the conversation, and he was like, "Yeah, it's pretty good." I was like, "Will y'all do me a favor?" I said, "That's the guy that brewed.
That's the guy that brewed the beer.
Will you go tell him it's the worst beer you've ever had in your entire life?"
No.
Oh yeah.
Why are you starting shit? This is what you're doing.
It's just what I do.
Yeah.
It's what I do. I got to keep him humble.
Yeah.
You know? And so,
can't make him thinking he's making a good product, right? Yeah.
So he goes over there and they play the role of the guy that doesn't speak English is this like renowned beer expert in the Czech Republic, and the other guy was just his translator, and he could understand English. He just didn't speak it really well. And so they play it off, and he said one of the lines was something like, he wants to know when you're going to bring the actual beer out.
Nice. Oh,
ouch. and Robert, I've got somebody videoing it over on the side, and Robert's like, "Oh, well, you know, we have different ingredients than what you like." He was totally backpedaling. It was hilarious,
man.
Poor Robert, man. He was just trying. He makes good beer.
He makes really good beer.
Beer.
But I don't want him to always think that, you know. That's the problem.
Always getting better.
That's right.
Always
That's
getting
right.
better.
No, he does a fantastic job. But he's shooting me the bird right now.
So basically, what he told us was, you got served.
When are you going to bring out the real beer?
That's right. Real beer.
So from my side, from my perspective, the two Czech guys come up. I don't even know their names at this point.
I have no idea.
But they played it off. I don't know what details he said, but the way they played it off, one guy's this professional beer taster from the Czech Republic, doesn't speak a lick of English, so he had a translator. Whatever. Turns out it wasn't. So anyways.
This is in line, by the way, so far. Yeah.
So we had an outside bar.
Yep.
And I was helping get that set up and everything. So I went to get them a couple tasters of the Czech Pilsner, and we had just moved the kegs outside. we don't have a filter, so
They
a little
were
bit of the
cloudy.
yeast came up cloudy. I'm like, man, I can't give this professional beer taster this beer. Let me run inside real quick, and I'll get him one from the tap. So I ran in, like literally ran, and I'm coming around the bar, slipped, almost busted my ass. Came around, got it, whatever, came back, and they start tasting it, and he's just like, "Where's the real beer?" Translated it.
I owed him a pint for that, by the way. I had to give him a free beer for that.
But it was. I noticed something was off.
His
Brandon,
wife was videoing it, and
my wife was videoing. Brandon
so he
Bingman,
might
the
have
owner
caught on
of
to-
Middle Ground Brewing.
Brandon was
Not
there.
Brandon,
Quite.
shout out Brandon.
I thought it was just like, this is a cool moment. Like,
Yeah.
let's videotape this, but it was still awkward.
Yeah.
And so as soon as he said his whatever language it is, his Czech speak, and so he said it and then translated it. He's like, where's the real beer? And I'm like, all right. We do our best in America.
Defensive.
I
He was trying to be
on the
diplomatic.
defensive.
He was trying not to start World War
So
III.
I was like, look, obviously this style is way better in the Czech Republic. Like, y'all do it the best, better than anyone. Like, this is the best that I can do. It was my first time doing it. I'm trying to represent and all this stuff.
And I couldn't
Everyone
contain
just
it.
starts laughing. And I'm
Man,
like,
that's when you
Man, man.
yeah.
so
It was awesome.
That's
It
awesome.
was so much fun.
Yeah.
like it.
And the fun part is in that event, and they danced, they did all their thing, all the different groups. There was an American group that did clogging and all that.
Oh wow.
But this is what beer is all about, and breweries and just everything that we're doing. It's about community, and it's a language that is worldwide.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And so at the end of the night, most of the spectators had already left, and I go out in the back in the patio, and it was shoulder to shoulder. I mean, it was packed
Good.
on the patio, and there were some of the Mexican musicians, some of the Czech musicians, some of the English musicians and dancers, and they were all jamming together. And all of a sudden, there's this international group playing Wagon Wheel, for God's sakes.
Wow.
And I'm like, this is magical.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even care about this song, but this is magical.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Beer bringing everybody together.
Beer
There we
and
go.
music. Beer
It's a
and music.
universal language.
It is.
And another cool part, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but just having all those different dancers and groups. Somehow, I'm guessing you told them, but someone told them that I made all the beer. And so almost all the dancers would come by to me, but like, you made this? Like, it's fantastic.
Oh,
it's
the
great,"
English
and all
were
this.
raving over the ESB.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then the Mexican group loved the dark Mexican lager.
Yeah.
The Czech guys apparently needed real beer. I don't know. They did say they liked
They
it.
did. Yeah. He reversed.
He
said
did good.
everything's good.
Yeah.
He did good.
He played it off. It was awesome.
Can I do we have to go in this order? Or is there an
No.
order of preference? Because I want to try the Mexican lager
Okay, let's do
next.
it. Let's
do that.
I'm a big fan of Mexican lager.
Let's
So
go.
this one's
Yeah.
been eyeing kind of me the whole time. Talk to us a little bit about this beer.
So we do make a traditional Mexican lager, just a light version, and it's been a hit for the past 2-3 years, whatever it's been. So I took that same recipe because it's been so good, and I just darkened it up a little bit.
Yeah.
I added a little darker crystal malt, threw in a little bit of chocolate malt,
Yeah.
and this is it.
This is
All
what we
right.
got. What was the name of this one?
This is Jarabe
Jarabe.
in the dark.
Yeah. It's got a great color to it, by the way.
It's beautiful.
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah.
So limited amount of that still left.
Yep.
Wow.
Thank you.
I love this one. This one's really good.
That's smooth.
It's did you say smoky? Is that what you
Smooth.
said? Smooth? Yeah, okay.
It shouldn't be smoky.
No, I was like, I don't get smoky on it.
I got
Maybe I'm wrong.
nervous a
Yeah.
little bit. I was
Yeah.
like, oh shit, what's wrong with our lines?
Yeah.
He said smooth. He said smooth. He said smooth.
Yeah. To me, it's smooth.
Sorry about
I mean, it may not be a great descriptor of that one, but the first taste or two is smooth. It's covering my palate. So as
Yeah.
I'm
I
continuing to go
love this.
through
I
it,
love this style of beer because
Same.
being able to take a dark Mexican lager, it's really taking like something like a Lido Creek and then something that's a little bit darker and saying, okay, even though it's hot outside, you can still drink this. Even if it's
Oh,
cold
yeah.
outside, you can drink this.
Yep.
Even if you're around the campfire, you can drink this. Like this is, to me, this is the quintessential style that goes for any season of the year. I love beers like this that are real easy to drink, copper caramelish in color and flavor, and just it's not over the top heavy.
Yeah.
Well, the Mexican style lager is a distinct style, and it's based on a Vienna lager.
Interesting.
So
see that.
Germany settled a large portion of Mexico, especially Mexico City, and so they brought their Vienna style and the methodology over there, but they don't grow the same stuff. So there's a little bit more corn. There's a little bit more of those kinds of things in there. And so the Mexican style lager has become almost an offshoot of that Vienna.
Yep.
Huh.
Yep.
Vienna lager
style
totally
with
tracks.
corn.
I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. That's that a little bit of sweetness.
Yep.
Yeah. It's good beer.
That one's good.
Awesome. Thank you.
Very
I
nice.
can't remember, John, what you said this one was.
This
was
my favorite. Cotswold Morris.
Oh, we're doing this.
ESB.
Okay. All right. There we go. This is the ESB.
This is the ESB.
Yes.
ESB.
This is my jam
I
right
do
here.
like me a good ESB.
Yes.
A very, very underappreciated style in
Yeah.
the U.S.
Definitely.
because you've got, depends on who you ask, extra special bitter or English style bitter, but you throw the word bitter,
About that.
you throw the word bitter in there, and people are like, "Oh my god, I don't want bitter beer." And I'm like, "Well, it's just more bitter because they figured out how to use hops. It's an old style of beer, and it's more bitter than say mead. You know what I
True.
mean?
Yeah.
True.
So it's not super bitter, but it is. This is, to me, this is what beer should taste like.
Cheers, everybody.
Yeah. Cheers again. Thank you.
And out of these 3 beers, this has been the one that I've had the most feedback on,
The most feedback. Okay.
like in a good way. That this has been the favorite out of the 3 for the majority.
Oh, I freaking love that beer.
That's so good.
Delicious.
And you're
Delicious.
right. There's when people think ESB and they hear that word bitter, for some reason people's minds go to it's hoppy, or they go to it's like it's too much to where I can't drink it. It's too bitter, or it's too hoppy. But like for me, when I think ESB, and it might be just my ignorance speaking, but bittering, like bitter beer and hoppy beer, that's almost 2 different flavor profiles for me.
Absolutely.
Because this beer to me is only slightly bitter, but it's got, you're right, they figured out the way to use the hops to make this a very balanced beer.
Yes.
Whereas hoppy, you're thinking pale ales and IPAs, like those are hoppy beers. That's a completely different profile than something like this.
Yep, I agree 100%, and that's. I mean, it's just this to me. This is what beer should taste like.
This one's good. This isn't something you guys brew year round. This is one of the 3. This is one of the 3 releases that you guys have. This should be a year round beer.
We will do it again for sure.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That's awesome.
It's really good.
and here's the thing. I agree with you, except that we also have to make money. So if
This
it
is
just-
not
if
a
it
cheap
just sits-
beer to make.
Well,
huh?
it just sits because people are so freaked out by it.
True.
And you'll see if you pay attention, there's a lot of commercial breweries right now that are making an ESB, but they're calling it something different. So if you see English Amber, or you see something along those lines, it's an ESB, y'all.
Wow. Okay.
And is that because they're just simply trying to market the fact that it's
Get it
it's
away
not
from
a
the
bitter?
word. That's it.
Man.
That's it.
Come on, America.
Because you don't taste that.
No, exactly. Come on.
Yeah. Marketing, I'm telling you, man, these
Yeah.
people have figured it out.
Oh
Yeah.
They know exactly what to say to get you to drink something. And if they know you don't like a specific word, they'll just change it.
That's it.
And
That's super hard because you got craft beer heads that want the exact
They
what
want
it
an
is.
ESB.
It hurts my heart to call this an English style amber.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, it basically is, but it's an ESB. That's what style it is.
It is kind of fun to put that next to it. Just be like English style amber.
Yeah.
But
It's
in my
still
heart,
just
it's an ESB.
It is an ESB. Yeah.
I can't do it. I can't change it. I'm sorry. No.
Man.
Not just like the education side of it,
Mhm.
just explaining what it is, why it's called that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And compare it to other styles.
Yeah, yeah.
Did they teach you a lot of that when you were kind of going through your background at school? No.
No.
So a lot of that is just basically like on the job.
Yes. So one
Figuring
thing that was
things
drilled
out.
into me, that was, so I had a professor at Colorado State University, and he was an owner of a brewery as well. But his biggest thing when you talk about true to style beers is you can't use, say, a beer recipe starts with a yeast. So if you want to make a Kolsch, you better use a Kolsch yeast. Or if you want to make a lager, you better use a lager yeast. And so that was drilled into me really early on in school that you can't just use any kind of yeast to make this style of beer because it's not really that style of beer.
Makes sense.
It does.
And especially like Belgian yeast is Belgian yeast.
Yep.
And you'll know immediately that this is, you can call it whatever the hell you want. It's not a Belgian beer.
They create more bubbly beers, more carbonated beers.
A very specific flavor profile in every Belgian.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because as a brewer, you don't really make beer.
Yeah.
It's like we're creating an environment for the yeast to live and thrive to make the beer that we want.
Oh,
that's a good
deep.
statement.
Man, I love that.
We
was
don't
nice.
make
That was
beer.
nice.
We make an environment for the yeast to live.
Sing to my
What
heart,
the
sir.
hell was that?
That was beautiful.
Does he come out with that shit all the time?
I mean, I don't know that I've ever heard that. So,
That's something you put up on the board up
Yeah.
there. We don't make beers. We make environments.
yeah, that was.
I've been saying that a long time.
Try our Route 4.4.
Maybe I just don't listen. Yeah,
No.
maybe I just don't listen real well. That was awesome.
Yeah, no.
Connecting
Brewers
flights
don't
and
make
making insights.
Oh,
That's it.
this is where the best ideas come from, right here.
Yeah,
We're sitting around
that's
the
it.
table drinking beer, getting
Well,
toasted.
so I asked Jeremy on the Berliner Weiss. I said, "How did you come up with putting Tirani syrups in a beer like this?"
Sure.
Yeah.
And his answer was, "Man, it's just like every other good idea. We were drinking one night, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
That's it.
Man,
Mitch, I think we were at Whiskey and Sticks Cigar Lounge
dude.
right over here in Murfreesboro, and we were drinking. Might have been one of the Living Waters house, which we brought something for you guys, by the way, too.
Yeah.
I think we'll take a quick rinse break, and then we'll come back. And if you guys are good with it, we'd like to share it with you guys.
yeah, that'd be
Absolutely.
But
cool.
we took a really heavy, might have been a vanilla barrel-aged stout, I think, and we had some
Yes.
bamboo vanilla rum
Yeah.
with us as well. And in your toasted state of mind, you just got up with your glass, walked over, and just poured some rum inside your stout. And I'm like, what is
Absolutely.
he doing?
Yes.
And he took a sip, and
It was
he was
incredible,
like,
wasn't
you
it?
got to
Yeah.
try this. So we're pouring rum in our stouts and drinking it. We're like, this is a damn good beer.
yeah.
and incredibly dangerous at that
And
point.
very
Yeah.
dangerous. The
It ups
best
the stakes.
ideas are made around the tables like that.
I love it.
So let's take a quick rinse break, Mitch,
Let's do it.
and then let's pop some bottles for these guys here.
All right. All
We'll be
right.
right back. Everybody's back at the table now, getting rid of their stuff.
I had to go make a deposit. Yeah, It
About
happens.
to fill back up the account too.
I know
right?
it.
That's right.
I know it.
Yeah. So what we do typically on the lightning round, and you guys have been a lot more generous. I'd say very generous for us today, and it didn't stop there because normally in the lightning round we like to share something that we brought with you guys. You have something additional for us as
Yeah.
well. I want to get into that first.
Okay.
I think when it comes from like when we're going for the style. So this is a Belgian double, I think, right? Native Creatures.
At its core, that's what it is.
Can you give us a little bit of the
However-
history and the background about this? Yeah, go ahead.
Robert tells the story better.
Do I?
Yeah.
Well, you can talk about art.
Well,
and
let's
all
start.
that stuff,
Yeah, let's
and
start with
then-
this.
Then I'll
So
talk about the
when we
recipe.
first opened, you guys probably know Art Whitaker. Everybody knows Art Whitaker, and Art helped us get involved in this. It's called Farm Punk Collective, and so it was 20 some breweries, 22 breweries or something around the
Something
country.
like that.
And basically, they said, if we get some native yeast, there's one called Daniel's yeast out of California, and then they built a yeast out of Tennessee that was
Honeysuckle
honeysuckle and
moonshine
a
cherry.
little moonshine cherry.
Yeah.
And our friends over at who spun it up, built it.
Oh, Rick.
Yeah, Rick.
Verbidium. I think that's what it's called.
Rubidium?
Rubidium.
Yeah.
That's-
Rubidium.
I
was close.
Yeah.
Rubidium.
They were
Yeah,
at the, they were at the they were one of, I think they were the winner at the Common John
Yes.
festival
Yeah,
for the
so-
homebrew festival.
So our,
a few years
friend,
ago.
our friend
Yeah.
Rick Lowe engineered this yeast together through the other little captured things. So both yeasts were pitched in this. It sat in stainless for almost a year.
8 months.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Wow.
And it just did its thing. So it's a double, and then it has all this funky yeast in it.
Mm-hmm.
But it I don't know. It's just unique because, and I'm not going to tell you what I think about it, like as far as flavor profile and such, but just the collective effort on this, and then even the picture on the label, that was something that was provided to us from an artist out in California, and then we made the label off of that, and Anyway, this is my favorite beer that we've ever produced out of this brewery.
Oh, thank you.
Good.
Thank you for sharing.
But yeah, the recipe itself is, at most of its core, is a Belgian double style.
Nice.
But there's a few other additions in there that makes it not a Belgian double. I mean, number one, the yeast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then there's a little bit of rye in there that
Ooh.
is not normally in a Belgian double. But the yeast is really, it shines throughout this entire beer.
Man.
It makes it extremely special. And I'd venture to say you've never tasted a beer like this before.
100. Unless you've had this beer, you've never had a beer.
No,
like
that's a
this.
true statement because I was actually sitting at the bar here at Cedar Glade about probably 6 months ago.
Mhm.
6 months ago, and I struck up a conversation with a couple next to me, and they were talking about this beer. They had one at home and they hadn't yet opened it, but like they had been reading about it and they had research on it. And they were like, "This beer is just supposed to be really good. We just don't." And they go, "We have a bottle at home and we haven't had it yet." And they actually decided to buy another one on site, and they split it with us. So, like, this was a beer that
Awesome.
I got a chance to try,
And it 100%.
so good.
It absolutely gets better as it is aged.
Nice.
So I've not had one in a couple months, and I am excited because I'm sure this it's going to be even better than the last time I had it.
Let's dig in.
The nose is great. Cheers, John.
Thank you.
There's more after you taste it and talk about it. Then there's more that I'll tell you about what went into it.
Yeah.
There's a lot to explain in this beer.
Yeah, and I want to know about it because the nose on this thing is great. Like
There is absolutely no fruit in it, by the way.
Zero.
None.
Really?
Not fruit.
Let's taste.
Oh, interesting.
Hold on. You sure?
So
there's. Go ahead. No, I want to know.
Orange peel.
Oh, okay. But there's no fruit. I get cherry, like big time cherry.
Yeah.
That's from the
And
yeast.
there's no actual fruit in it.
No.
yeah, I get dark cherry and
some of
bubble
the
gum.
peel.
Dark cherry and bubble gum.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay. I can see dark cherry. I get some dark cherry a little bit.
Yep.
Orange peel makes sense to me when I taste this beer.
I wouldn't have
It's
guessed
very
it,
zesty.
but when you said it, I was like,
Yeah.
It comes
That's
through.
that brightness.
Yeah.
Mhm.
wow.
There's one really different ingredient in there. If you can try to figure out what that is.
So this is
It's love.
Belgian doubles.
Love.
It's love's the main ingredient.
Love's the main ingredient.
Gotcha.
Oh,
That's it.
Well, this style of beer, to your point, gets better as it ages.
100%.
Right, and so this one has an August of 23 date on it. So we're sitting on about 11,
That's
12
when
months.
that's
of
when it
beer.
was bottled.
When it was bottled.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
brewed 8 months prior.
Prior to that, yeah.
oh wow.
So we are truly looking at and drinking an aged beer.
No doubt.
Yeah, this thing's phenomenal.
It's great.
This one's really good. So this is 7.5% alcohol by volume, Belgian style double ale. But you're right, this isn't a traditional Belgian double. Like there's
Not even close.
there's a lot more flavor profile in there. Most
Yeah.
Belgian doubles to me, Mitch, are more like yeasty banana flavors. But I'm with Mitch. I wouldn't have gotten like the orange peel flavor straight up, but there was something zesty on there that I couldn't figure out. But the minute you said it,
That's it.
it made sense to
Yeah.
me.
Right.
Yeah.
So the other thing that goes along with that orange peel is crystallized ginger.
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 Okay.
Whoa.
So it gives it
no way.
a tiny bit of spiciness in there.
Huh.
And it's a little earthiness.
Yeah.
Um,
Earthiness,
and
I
then
get.
Obviously, you're getting cherry.
Yep.
That's from the moonshine cherry yeast that came through. And then there's the floral aspect
Mhm.
that's in there, which I can contribute to the honeysuckle yeast.
Yeah.
So good.
Good work.
Awesome.
yeah,
this
this
is
is
great.
very
And
tasty.
thank you. Cheers.
Yes.
This is
It's my, it's my
Amazing
favorite
beer.
beer that we've ever made.
and with good reason.
Yeah.
This is great.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And that went down way easier than it should have too, by the way. My glass is gone.
So freaking good.
That's incredible. I'm going to
And,
go ahead
hey,
and prepare this up.
And I'll just
Yeah.
tell you, yours is already gone, so
Yeah.
too damn bad. But if you'll let this sit for just a minute, it
warm
takes
it
on
up.
a completely different character, a little warmer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good technique. Just hand warm it.
Yep,
That's what they teach you when you're drinking wine.
it's awesome.
Awkward transition. Native
go.
creatures.
Cuddle your beer.
Cuddle your beer.
But please don't soak it.
Cuddle your beer. Please don't soak it. Nate, honestly, though,
You'll end up in the hospital.
That's
with
right.
it.
Yeah.
That's right.
this is great.
Thank
This is really good. Thank you guys. Kudos to you.
Yeah,
This
delicious.
is a really
delicious.
good beer.
I'm gonna let this one warm up.
We brought something for you guys too. We wanted to share it, so I kind of alluded to this a little bit, but this is our way of saying thank you guys because coming on site today, you guys have been more than gracious. I mean, everything from wearing swag to tasting you guys' beers to busting out stuff out of the cellar. I mean, your favorite beer that you've had. It's really good, and what we like to do, we hold beers back and drinks back for reasons like this. It's because it's stuff that that we're proud of to share with other people that we wouldn't want to drink just by ourselves. So we brought a couple of those, and Mitch just popped up some sake for us today.
Oh,
Yeah,
dear God,
just wanted to really quickly, we're kind of going backwards here, but this is a Takeda Namaginshu, and my friend Namazaki Paul, he helped coordinate the distribution of this here from Japan.
Sake, man.
And it's a Honjozo Namaginshu, so it's alcohol added, and Namaginshu is typically an unpasteurized sake, and
it's a lot clearer than a lot of the other sakes that I've had before.
oh yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah.
It's stunningly beautiful.
It's
this
not too cloudy. Well, maybe it
no,
is.
no,
Maybe
yeah,
it
it's
is.
clear.
I like on this one. I was reading the bottle, and they even tell you their polishing percentage of the
Yes.
rice,
That's
which
one
not
thing.
a lot of people do that.
No,
That's very rare.
What
Sake-
was that?
And even so, your polishing of the rice.
Yeah.
So they polish it to certain percentages before they start fermenting it with
Yeah.
koji and all that.
Yeah.
But most people don't tell you at what percentage that they do it.
Oh,
Mhm.
and
So it's kind of like in the brewing industry with beer. They'll tell you like we use like these malts, these hops. I contribute that. Like it's almost the same thing.
yeah,
Okay.
Like, most people don't tell you what they put in there or what they do to their product.
right.
Yeah, trade secret.
So that's unique.
Yeah, this thing, it's incredible. There's several variations to this. This is the Black Skull Takeda.
Holy smokes.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that is fantastic.
Sake for me is like a cross between almost like a white wine, almost, and drinking like an easy liquor for me. That's
I was
what
going to say a
like.
liqueur.
Yeah, that's what I like about sake. I've only recently, for me, it's been recent. But I used to do the whole you go to your restaurants and you get the hot sake or whatever. But but there's so much more out there.
There is.
Yeah.
That's just
I do like
Mitch's
it warm.
Yeah.
I am a fan of the warm stuff.
You're holding it
Um,
like this, like
I
you're
know.
warming it up
I'm
in your hands
cuddling
right
it.
now. Yeah, you're cuddling it.
I'm cuddling it.
Yeah.
So, but no, this is
Yeah.
good.
There's a whole new sake movement here in Nashville, especially with proper sake. It's our local craft brewery.
Yep.
I believe Present Tense has got their sake started here. It's imported from their collaboration, or I've got to talk to them still. We're working on a time to talk with them to figure out exactly what style and etc. that they're doing. But Pure Land Sake is theirs, and they're getting more in soon. So
Awesome.
Well, the very first time I ever had it, I have no idea what kind it was. Like I don't know anything about it. It was at a hibachi restaurant
Yeah,
type
as
thing.
it normally is, right?
And it tasted like fingernail polish remover. Like
Yeah.
it was awful, absolutely awful. And it was like, okay, I'm going to shoot it and just get drunk.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is actually something like I could still get extremely drunk on it.
Yes.
but
But you'll
slowly
enjoy
and
it.
enjoyable. Yes, exactly.
18%.
Yeah,
The-
that's really good.
the Namagenshu style is really growing on me. We've got a little bit of a backstory on that with the Drunken Red Snapper, but we'll get into that another day. I'll just bring some sakes. We'll do a little share here and figure
love
it
it.
out. And
Love
You guys down for something like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've
You
got
got too
plenty
much
more
beer.
of this. So.
Cool. That'd be awesome. Let's do it.
And we'll probably do this one off camera, but we're gonna dig into this Living Waters. Well, you already
Let's
got
do
the
it.
glasses.
Let's
Right?
go.
Oh, that's up to you
All right.
guys.
Let's
We're
go.
here. Do it now. All right. So Living Waters is
Big fan.
yes.
Their tap room is incredible,
Their
by the way.
tap room's
It
dope.
is the swankiest.
It really
coolest
is super
little-
swanky.
I love it.
Yeah, it is.
And the I like their I can't even get this thing open.
While you talk, I'll pull.
All right.
The brewers Ryan
Ryan
McKay.
Ryan
yeah.
McKay.
Yep.
What I liked about Living Waters was, I'm not a big coffee guy. That's just not me. I prefer to get my caffeine from other sources, but not cocaine.
Well, that's not exactly caffeine, bro.
Yields the same result. Allegedly.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
So I wouldn't know. But I do like, their coffee shop by morning. But what I like about them is I was off one day and I just walked in and I was just like, it'd be fun if I could get a beer at 10 a.m. in the morning. He was like, sure. I go, wait, hang on a second. Like, I can get a beer at 10 o'clock in the morning? Yeah, why not? And I'm like, this is weird. But the front of the house and the back of the house, coffee shop and brewery collaborate all the time on things like that. And Ryan's infamous for his summer stout club, like his Mythos club, where it's just like it's 100-degree weather and he's releasing a 10.1% barrel aged Russian Imperial stout with all kinds of adjuncts in it. And this is what we have today. This is one of their Mythos from Mitch. Is it 2023 on the side or is it 2024?
I think it's 23.
I think it's 23. So yeah, this no 2024. You're right. I thought it was 23 as well. So the guys at Living Waters, Ryan and those guys, they make such good like barrel aged stouts. They're either doing New England IPAs, they're doing kettle sours, or they're doing Russian Imperial barrel aged stouts. And so what we're having today is part of their Mythos Club, which is something where people get to sign up and they get a chance to have a beer. Like these beers aren't for sale; they're only for the people that sign up for the Mythos Club. So I think there was only
I like that.
a couple hundred bottles of this in distribution, and then the people that sign up for the club are the ones that get this bottle, and then they don't sell it to the public.
So this is a real special treat.
This is why we do what we do. Like we have these beers and we go, yeah, we could drink this by ourselves, but why would we want to drink this by ourselves? We could share it with like the minds of people like Cedar Glade,
and only in Middle Tennessee.
That's right.
Yeah.
So my favorite thing about this brewery is I grew up in this area, and their location when I was in high school, where they are located was the punchline of like every joke on the face of the planet. Like you just didn't go to Dickerson Pike.
No.
Like
no,
you just didn't go there. Like, period. And if you did go there,
that's where you pick up the ladies on Dickerson Pike.
Did go there,
yeah.
exactly.
Right.
So every your mama joke ended with Dickerson Pike.
Dickerson Pike, exactly.
And here's this place, and they've invested money and time and effort, and it's beautiful.
Oh,
it truly is a beautiful location.
Yeah,
and they've invested in the butt of every your mama's joke.
I haven't read anything on that bottle, but
sure.
There's tons of coconut aroma just by a drive-by.
Oh my
gosh! So Ryan works with two ingredients a lot more than he does with others. It seems this is not what he has said, but this is what he seems to come out. Cinnamon and coconut are like the two, and vanilla. He loves using Madagascar vanilla, but cinnamon and coconut are like the two that he mainly uses.
Mm-hmm.
So this is called Chris Knife. It's a 2024 Mythos Club. It's a barrel-aged Imperial Stout brewed with coconut, orange peel, and vanilla. So I'm expecting multiple layers. I don't know if about Mitch, but I have not had this before. Strong?
Oh, it's great.
Okay.
It's great.
I have not had this one before, so this will be a first time.
I don't typically like coconut. Like coconut's not my thing.
Okay.
This is delicious.
Aged? Yeah.
This is delicious.
Sometimes they're barrel aged. It smells barrel aged to me. Most of the Mythos Clubs are barrel aged stouts.
This is
wow.
This is something.
I'll check on tap,
and it could be the coconut that's overshadowing it. Some.
Well, there's vanilla in there. Like my initial drive-by sniff was coconut.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then like I do kind of a 3-part process when I smell a beer for the first time.
Sure.
I'll do a drive-by, and then I'll chill.
Is that kind of like your initial, just straight out the bat?
Yep. And then and that was when I said coconut.
Okay.
And then I'll do a double sniff, like real quick. And then I'll chill. And sometimes I'll take a sniff of my arm just to kind of reset.
Yeah.
And then I'll take a long sniff of it.
Oh, man.
Sense.
Yeah,
you just try to dissect what's in there before you take your first sip. That's what I do almost every single time that I taste a new beer.
So he sniffs his arm.
He does.
I do sniff my arm.
And I'll be honest, I've started copying him on that because
it works.
It's the top of my hand is what I sniff.
It's a very common technique.
It totally resets
beer
everything.
Judging or wine judging. Anything.
It's the equivalent of like when you go and you're getting cologne or perfume and you sniff like a thing of coffee grounds, coffee beans, just to kind of reset your palate.
Oh,
it's
incredible.
The orange, I don't get any real orange on it,
Okay.
but the orange mellows the coconut for me, and because I don't really like coconut, but the orange cuts that coconut down.
Mm-hmm.
And
it could be that. It could be
it's-
just that cutting of the coconut.
Oh,
so
it's
that not
fantastic.
intense.
So this tastes, hear me out. It tastes like coffee with coconut oil and butter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Butter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
You put
What is that? What's
coconut-
that called? There's a name for that.
Yes, bulletproof coffee.
Yes, that's it.
Bulletproof coffee.
Yep, it sure does.
Man, that kind of goes right along with their branding too. Coffee
it's
house
like that,
and
it's like the vanilla. It gives you
That's
mixing
so
with
good.
the coconut. It gives you that buttery flavor and consistency in there. It's
Good job, y'all.
This is
Really
interesting
good.
because we haven't had
awesome.
we've had brewers on the podcast, but we haven't had brewers on the podcast that's critiquing and like breaking down another brewery's
It's the
beer.
first.
So
he
this is
he took a
interesting.
sensory class,
Yeah.
and it changed
Fantastic.
my life because he comes in and he's like blah 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 blah, and I'm like, I had no idea.
Slow down a second.
Yeah.
Break it out for me one by one.
Yeah,
I took a beer sensory course and a wine sensory course.
Nice.
And so both of those just
and it was
Elevated everything
mouthfeel
that I
and
do.
smell
that's
and
fantastic.
color and like all of it.
Needed for something like that.
That is
Yeah.
that's some good
this is
details. Then
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very
Hey,
very very.
Cheers
good.
to you guys.
Yeah,
Cheers.
thank you.
so much
Hey,
for having us
cheers
on
to
Yeah,
today.
thanks for
Waters.
having
Thank
us.
Living
you.
Waters.
Good job, y'all.
Cedar Glade Brews, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Some of the best brews in the city. Seriously,
Thank
you guys are doing good work. Please keep
Thank you.
doing what you're doing.
So I got to step out.
Yeah.
but I've got a present for you guys.
Oh.
So this
Oh,
is
yeah.
for you guys to take home. You can take it to another bottle share if you want.
All
Thank
right.
you so much.
So this is Uncommon, which in a search we found that is actually a relatively common name, but whatever. It doesn't matter. Ours is Uncommon. So
It's an uncommon style of beer.
yeah,
Mm.
Borough Bourbon Club does a barrel pick every so often, and so we got their bullet barrel. So they did a club pick bullet bourbon, and we got their barrel. Man, that's a lot of beans.
You did
Yeah,
good.
it is.
That's a
That's
lot
awesome.
of bees.
That was challenging.
Yeah.
And they picked it because of the banana smell and flavor to it.
Whoa.
Yes.
Another bee.
And so,
All
so
right.
Robert, we said, okay, what do we want to put in here? I don't really want to do a stout. Let's do something different.
Hold on. But to start that story, we had our Stones River Stout in vessel ready to be kegged out.
Okay.
So the initial story, they wanted, we'll say the partners,
Quick transfer.
Yeah.
Right.
the partners wanted to do that to get it in the barrel quick.
Mm.
And I immediately shut that down because that beer is not barrel ready.
It's not high enough alcohol content. It just
That
it,
makes
it would've-
sense.
Okay.
it would've-
it's-
it would've
it's not-
died.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
it would have
It
died.
would've been
So he does a little research. He finds this style called a Kentucky Common. So you've probably had
Ooh.
a California
I've
Common
had a
before.
California common before.
So Kentucky Common, correct me if I'm wrong, has significantly more corn in it than a California Common.
Yes.
Ooh.
Is that right?
And rye.
And rye, yeah.
Oh,
okay.
So
I think
so
that's
all-
the key differentiator right
Yep.
there.
all
right?
all the things that you might have in whiskey,
Mm.
right?
Yep.
Brews that up. It hits what 7.8 or 7.9 is what the unbarrel one was.
It was closer to 9%.
Oh, was it? Oh, you're right.
No.
it was like 8.6,
I don't
and then in the
remember.
barrel it went up to about 9.1.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So brews that up, dumps it in the barrel, sat in the barrel for 5 months, I guess it was. And we took a draw off of it, and we're like, oh my god,
It
picking
was
up-
too much.
It's picking up
It was
Too much?
hot. It
too
was
much,
hot.
too much whiskey, too much oak,
Oh,
too much. So transferred it over to stainless and let it sit in stainless for about 6
Yeah.
weeks.
Let it
And,
mellow.
and
Mellow
let
out
it
a little
chill
bit.
out a little bit.
Yeah.
And so this is the
And
end
this is the
result.
result of it.
This is
Awesome.
it.
Thank you very
Fantastic.
much for
Love
that,
it.
by the way.
But it was very fitting because it's a Kentucky distillery, so why not do a Kentucky Common to throw
Yeah.
in there?
So
I've never
that's,
heard of
that's
anyone
why the
doing
name
that.
Uncommon came about on this one.
It is
Nice.
all uncommon.
That's awesome.
And then when we did the non-barrel aged version, we just called it common.
Common. Okay.
Yep.
that
What
makes
we-
sense.
What
That's
we would
awesome.
like to do is we'll share this one
Yeah,
with other people
Yeah.
Love it.
because we got to share the Cedar Glade Brews name
definitely.
with
Love
people in the area.
Please
Love
do.
it.
It's been a good time, Mitch.
Yes, thank you. And I love the craft beer spirit of sharing and caring. And
Yeah.
this is part of why we love doing the podcast thing, and it's a passion
Yeah.
that we
Yeah.
hopefully are continuing the gift of craft beer.
And
wherever-
it's
wherever
all
we go.
about community.
Yeah.
We can have the best conversations over a beer and just chill.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know.
Yep.
We could solve a whole lot of the world's problems if everybody would sit down and just have a beer together.
If everybody
Absolutely.
drinks beer, you can solve all the world's problems.
Yeah.
right.
And socials wise, so Cedar Glade Brews, Instagram,
That's it.
Facebook,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
all common across all socials.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at cedargladebrews.com.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And definitely check these guys out. I mean, like they've been here for how long? How long have you guys been here?
We're approaching 3 years.
3 years. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Crazy.
One
doing
other
this.
fun thing, just throw it out there. We haven't mentioned it. We've
Yeah.
got a can cooler over here.
Oh, yes.
100 different beers in there. So if you are a craft beer lover in Middle Tennessee, we make good beer. We make great beer, but we also stock some incredible beers
Yeah.
as well. So
Man.
Yeah.
Again, thank you for having us, and we're gonna finish up whatever
Yep.
we can here.
yeah,
Keep
cheers.
drinking.
Thank
See
you
you guys
guys.
in the next
Cheers.
one.
Cheers.
Cheers.